I'm Michael, and I've been a Christian for 13 years. So my journey from doubt to faith is a good journey of God really speaking into the thread of my life. As I progressed through my teenage years, there was nothing really there to ground me, I felt. And so I started through various friendships to get a little bit lost. Found myself hanging out with a particular group of people, and yeah, my life certainly went down a pathway that might not be quite ideal. Ended up partying quite a lot, enjoying the nightlife, if you will, particularly using a few sort of drugs here and there, and that really had a big impact on my mental state. I was finding myself becoming very depressed, had zero motivation, and was just feeling very lost. It was, yeah, it was certainly a dark part of my life, and I had no one there. I mean, my family were there, of course, but I had no one really to help me and guide me through this. I managed to get a job with a catering company, and through that I met a girl called Rochelle, and she was a good friend, and we, you know, she would invite me out to parties, and we'd sort of hang out with various things. Now through her, at one of these particular parties, I met a girl called Suzanne, who is now my wife, and as that relationship between the two of us started to form, there was a renewed sense of purpose. We were both searching, I guess you could say. Suzanne was from a faith background, but maybe had slightly slipped away from that path, and I was not from a Christian background, but searching and trying to resolve some of the darkness in my life, so searching for something else. And so she was asking me questions about faith. What are your beliefs? What are the things that you believe in, and what are the things that give your life meaning? So for me, that was quite confronting. I didn't have someone asking me those questions before. It was just very much, you would transiently move through life and people would just, you know, ask you nothing too deep and meaningful, and it was just, life was life. But for someone to ask me those questions, it was quite thought-provoking, and so it made me consider and go back to some of the things that I've valued for my life. And so I would come back to her with questions as well. And we'd have these big discussions over the dinner table. Some of the big themes that were causing me to struggle at this stage and not be able to commit myself were a misunderstanding. I didn't understand the faith of Christianity. I had grown up understanding religion, so there's an impact of what religion is, very structured. There's lots of ritualistic elements to this religious component that I thought what a Christian was. And so we would have these discussions, and often she wouldn't, or sometimes she wouldn't be able to answer the questions satisfactorily. So she would, her dad is a minister, and so she would phone back to South Africa, where she's from, ask him the questions that I'd been posing over the dinner table, get the best responses that she could from him, and be prepared and ready and come back to the dinner table the next night, ready to, I guess, maybe the thought was to make me a Christian. Tonight's the night. This is the answer. This is going to make him a Christian. And so this would go back and forth for quite a while. I guess slowly through the different conversations that Suzanne and Rochelle and myself would have over this, these dinner table discussions, would slowly start to reveal that it's not all about a ritual, or it's not a ritual. It is more about a relationship. It sort of came about that a few months later, so we're probably in October, November, roughly at this point, you could say that I had an encounter. And if I was to look back, I didn't know what it was then, but if I was to look back, yeah, you would certainly say this is an encounter with the Spirit. I went to bed one night and woke up in the morning feeling very different. I couldn't put my finger on what it was, and I woke up with a softness, a calmness, a real sense of confirmed sort of notion in my mind that God is real. So I feel like the Spirit had moved my heart at that point, and I was ready. And so Suzanne had always told me how you become a Christian. You need to submit your life to Jesus and call Him upon Him as your ruler over your life, and ask for your forgiveness for your sins. So I said, yeah, I'm ready. This is the moment. I'm ready to commit my life. Not a big flashbang moment. It was just the two of us, and I asked her to pray with me, and we prayed the prayer, and from that day on I would consider myself to be a Christian. If I look back to that time over the whatever it is 30 odd years that I've been around, you can see where God has been in directing part of my life, going into those dark days, because that certainly was part of what I needed to discover something, that I needed something else. Putting this Rochelle in front of me, and her bringing Suzanne along, and us having these discussions. So there's all these different points along the way that God has been a real instrumental part in directing me, and then finally catching me on that night.